25 years ago, Teresa Hairston stepped into the gospel music industry as a songwriter-arranger for artists, including the late Albertina Walker, the Georgia Mass Choir, and Bishop Jeff Band's Revival Temple Choir. And this is her story.
The early days of my life were very, very interesting. My father died when I was 7 months old. I remember that as a child, my house was filled with music. My mother loved gospel music. She played and sang. So I had a love of gospel because she put that in me. I got my first job at 7 years old playing for a local church. But I kept the love of music and gospel music particularly in my life. When I went to college, I went to Bowling Green State University in Ohio. I met a young man on campus who was Reverend Gregory Smith. He told me my first day on campus, I'll never forget it, he walked up to me, he said, "You're going to be the new director of the gospel choir." But it taught me responsibility and it taught me accountability. At the end of my senior year, I decided that this young man I'd been dating a couple years, I'd get married. We got married and moved to New Jersey, but I couldn't find a job and I started a temporary assignment. There at that position, I met a lady named Dr. Hazel Page. I got to know her family, her children, I got to know her husband, Bishop Liston Page Sr.
She loved people and she really loved her work.
I developed an appreciation for more than music. I'd been in church all my life, but the music drew me and kept me up until that time. And I learned to appreciate and treasure the word. She
was the first one that started the church newsletter that went out to all of the associated churches.
In 1979, I moved from New Jersey and my family left and we went to St. Louis. And over the next couple of years, it was a rapid succession of movement. And then my marriage ended. I got a divorce and it was a very, very difficult time in my life. I felt derailed. I had this picture of where I was going and all of a sudden I hit the wall and I didn't know what was next.
I needed somebody to assist me in my office in New York City. And of course, I never thought that it would be Teresa.
In 1987, as a single mother, she became national director of promotions for Savoy Records.
So I took the leap of faith and I moved. I packed up those kids and got a U-Haul truck and got on the road and drove to New York.
It was one of the best things I think I did for Savoy Records and for me.
Where she worked with legends like James Cleveland, Albertina Walker, Reverend Timothy Wright, the Georgia Mass Choir, and Reverend Milton Biggham.
Because I started a newsletter for them. It was the Savoy Record.
She worked in the music industry by day and educated herself by night on the business of publishing, and she sought out mentors and called upon her contacts in the music industry, where she worked in marketing at Savoy Records at that time.
About 6 months later, the company decided to take it into another division. They put it in Malaco's division, which was in Jackson, Mississippi.
She started with the idea of doing a publication of her own.
I went back to my boss after the newsletter was going to the other division and I asked permission. I said, would you allow me to do a newsletter on my own?
And she worked on it in her spare time and popped Score.
When Hairston started her newsletter, she called it Score, as in musical score.
My kids were my first staff. We would sit in the middle of the floor at night and I would say, baby, staple those newsletters together. Here, you put the stamp on them.
My mom was like, there's no options. I mean, work's gotta get done. You're 7, get to labeling. So that was a really great experience.
I didn't have an office. My office was my bedroom.
The one word that I try to sum up my mother's life is the word resilience.
I was at Savoy Records one day, I got a call from Benson. They called me, they asked me if I would come and talk with them about the potential of working for them.
I met Teresa Hairston, who at that time was very concerned about there being no charts for black gospel music.
He was just such an inspirational man.
But the fact is, Teresa Hairston was the first person to create a chart, not Billboard, not BRE.
I worked for Benson for maybe 18 months, but it was there that I got a chance to work with people like Fred Hammond and commissioned, people like Marvin Sapp. It was there that I signed an artist that was a hot artist in New York, but he was burning up the East Coast, but the country didn't know him. His name was Hezekiah Walker. He became one of the greatest artists and friends in gospel music.
Pursuing the vision and following her dream, she left Benson Records and SCORE was renamed and repositioned as Gospel Today to go beyond music, to include issues of family, relationships, finances, health and fitness, and teen concerns.
Teresa's a big picture person. Not everybody can be a big picture person, but she always saw herself and black gospel as being a part of a much bigger venue.
And 25 years later, has become an industry unto itself. Gospel Today TV, a weekly half-hour news magazine show that Hairston describes as a cross between Entertainment Tonight and 60 Minutes for the urban Christian community that formerly aired on the Word Network via DirecTV.
There are so many people in the gospel music industry that have become dear friends. People like Kirk Franklin, we became friends, and over the years, as I have seen him grow, develop, and become one of the most phenomenal gifts to gospel music in any type of genre. He's a man of integrity. I love him. And then I've had the opportunity to meet great folks like Vicki Winans, who will keep you laughing, keep you in stitches, and just is one of the most beautiful women inside and out. One of my dear, dear friends who has supported me throughout the years in anything that I do and everything that I do is Pastor Donnie McClurkin, a man who is, I gotta say this, he is absolutely one of the favorite voices. But I've worked with Donnie from the days of Savoy, Speak to My Heart, on to the end. And you know, we've done many magazine covers with him and stories, and he just is a special, special man.
The Gospel Heritage Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to preserving gospel's rich heritage, founded by Hairston in 1996, is a heartfelt cause supported by Gospel Today.
I wanted to do something that honored people because of their life work in gospel.
The foundation also produces an annual Praise and Worship Conference that provides education and encouragement to thousands.
I knew that we needed to celebrate the pioneers who'd given their life in the service of gospel and God, like Shirley Caesar and Albertina Walker.
How I made it, thank you, Jesus.
Andre Crouch, Thomas Whitfield, Richard Smallwood.
Know that God is nigh.
I enjoyed blessing them.
What started as a newsletter for 150 has a distribution of 200,000 plus readers, and its founder is aiming for more.
Some people make it for 25 years because they've had the good fortune of financial success. Other people make it 25 years because they refuse to die. Teresa would be in the latter.
Her motto is, when God gives you a vision, He'll make the provision. Her favorite scripture is Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. And tonight, we celebrate 25 years of the life, the legacy, the impact of Dr. Teresa Hairston.